In a picturesque village, preparations were underway for a grand wedding. Flowers adorned every corner, laughter echoed, and excitement filled the air. The groom, Adam Khalil, a charismatic Arab executive with a fortune to his name, was set to marry Sophia, a beautiful woman who embodied grace and charm. It was the talk of the town, a match of power and beauty. But far from the celebration, Amale, an African woman with a fierce spirit and an undeniable past, stood in silence. She wasn't just anyone. She was Adam's ex-girlfriend, the woman who once held his heart and had been cruelly left out of his new beginning. Her exclusion was deliberate, her pain undeniable. Why wasn't she invited? What fueled her need for revenge? And what unfolded when she decided to act? This is a story of love, betrayal, and redemption that will leave you speechless. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us share more stories of courage, hope, and transformation. Now prepare for a journey that will touch your heart and keep you on edge. The wedding bells echoed across the lush gardens of the Sterling estate, where Adam Khalil, a renowned Arab executive, stood poised to marry Sophia Hayes. Guests mingled under the grand canopy, toasting to the couple's bright future. Adam, dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, exuded confidence, his broad shoulders and piercing eyes reflecting years of discipline and success. He seemed untouchable, a man whose life was carefully curated for perfection. Yet, on the outskirts of the estate, Amale sat in her modest apartment, staring at an invitation she never received. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled through social media, where images of Adam and Sophia's engagement party flooded her feed. Her heart ached, not just from the memories of a love lost, but from the cruel realization that she had been erased from Adam's world. Years ago, Amale and Adam had shared a connection that transcended words. She had met him when he was a rising executive, navigating a new life in America. Amale, with her striking beauty and fierce intellect, had been his anchor during uncertain times. Together, they had dreamed of a future, one where Adam's ambitions and Amale's strength would merge into something extraordinary. But ambition, Amale learned, could be a double-edged sword. As Adam's career soared, their bond frayed under the weight of his newfound success and societal expectations. He left without a proper goodbye, choosing a path that seemed brighter, but left a trail of shadows behind. Across the estate, Adam greeted guests with practiced charm. Though his lips curved into a perfect smile, his thoughts were elsewhere. There was a weight in his chest, a faint reminder of the woman he had once loved. He had justified his choices countless times, yet something about this day made it harder to suppress the nagging guilt. Meanwhile, Amale paced her living room, her mind racing. The pain of exclusion ignited a flame she couldn't ignore. She wasn't angry at Sophia, she barely knew her. This wasn't about jealousy, it was about being erased, disregarded, and treated as if she had never existed. Amale's chest tightened as her resolve hardened. "This isn't right," she whispered to herself. Her phone buzzed, snapping her from her thoughts. It was her friend Kendra, who had been urging her to confront Adam for months. "Girl, you can't let him do this to you," Kendra said, her voice firm. "You deserve closure, even if it means crashing his perfect little wedding." Amale hesitated. The idea was reckless, unlike anything she had ever done. But wasn't that what Adam had always admired about her? Her courage, her refusal to back down in the face of adversity. Back at the estate, The ceremony began. Adam stood under the arch adorned with white roses, his gaze fixed on the aisle. Sophia, radiant in her designer gown, began her walk toward him, her smile lighting up the room. Guests watched with bated breath, oblivious to the storm brewing beyond the gates. Amale slipped into a simple but elegant black dress. It was bold, unapologetic, and perfect for the moment she was about to create. She looked at her reflection one last time, her heart pounding with equal parts fear and determination. "This is my story too," she murmured, grabbing her keys. With each step she took toward the Sterling estate, she felt the weight of her past lifting. Amale wasn't just confronting Adam. She was reclaiming her voice, her narrative, and the love she had once given so freely. The gates loomed ahead, and as she approached, Amale knew there was no turning back. Amale stepped through the grand iron gates of the Sterling estate, her head held high. The opulence of the venue was overwhelming. An orchestra played softly in the background, rows of elegant chairs lined the garden, and golden accents shimmered in the afternoon sun. Everything was perfect, meticulously designed to showcase the union of Adam and Sophia. But perfection, Amale thought, often masked deeper truths. Her heels clicked against the stone pathway as she approached the crowd gathered for the ceremony. Heads turned briefly, curious about the striking woman in black, who moved with quiet confidence. She wasn't on the guest list, and her presence was enough to cause a stir among the staff, who exchanged nervous glances. But Amale wasn't here to blend in. She was here to confront the man who had left her behind. Adam stood at the altar, his heart pounding for reasons he couldn't explain. He had everything he had ever wanted: a thriving career, the admiration of his peers, and a woman who represented everything society deemed ideal. Yet a restless unease gnawed at him. As he looked into Sophia's loving eyes, his mind betrayed him, conjuring memories of Amale. He remembered the way her laugh could fill a room, how her unwavering support had fueled his ambition. She had seen him at his most vulnerable, long before he became the polished version of himself. Adam had convinced himself that leaving her was necessary, that their worlds were too different to coexist. But now, standing at the precipice of a new life, he couldn't shake the shadow of what he had left behind. Amale reached the outskirts of the gathering, unnoticed by Adam, but clearly visible to many in the crowd. Whispers rippled through the guests as they tried to place her. Was she an ex, a journalist, or simply someone who didn't belong? Sophia's father, Charles Hayes, a prominent businessman with a protective streak, noticed Amale immediately. He approached her with a stern expression, his voice low but firm. "Miss, I'm afraid this is a private event. If you're not on the list, I'll have to ask you to leave." Amale met his gaze without flinching. "I'm not here to cause trouble, Mr. Hayes, but I need to speak to Adam. It's important." Charles scoffed, his patience thinning. "If you think you can barge in here and disrupt my daughter's wedding, you're mistaken." Amale's voice sharpened. "Mistaken? Perhaps. But I think Adam deserves to hear what I have to say." The tension was palpable, drawing the attention of more guests. Adam glanced over his shoulder, his brows furrowing as he noticed the commotion. His breath caught in his throat when he saw her. Amale. The world around him seemed to blur as a flood of emotions surged through him. He hadn't seen her in years, yet the sight of her felt like a lightning strike to his chest. Sophia noticed the shift in Adam's demeanor and turned to follow his gaze. When she spotted Amale, her serene expression faltered. The weight of unspoken questions pressed down on her, and her confidence wavered. Adam, she whispered, her voice trembling. Who is she? Adam's mind raced as he struggled to find an answer. He couldn't lie, not to Sophia, not to himself. But before he could speak, Amale stepped forward, her voice cutting through the hushed murmurs. Adam, she called, her tone steady but laced with emotion. I need to talk to you. The crowd fell silent, their curiosity mounting. Adam stepped down from the altar, his legs heavy as if burdened by the weight of his choices. He stopped a few feet from Amale, his eyes searching hers for answers he wasn't sure he wanted to find. I didn't come here to ruin your day, Amale began, her voice breaking slightly. But I couldn't stay silent anymore. You left without an explanation, without closure. And now you're standing here, about to marry someone else, as if none of it ever happened. Adam's jaw tightened. Amale, this isn't the time or place. No, she interrupted, her eyes blazing. You don't get to decide that. Not this time. Sophia's voice cut through the tension, trembling but firm. Adam, what is she talking about? The moment hung in the air, a fragile thread threatening to snap. Adam glanced between Amale and Sophia, his carefully constructed world unraveling before his eyes. The silence that followed Amale's words was deafening. Adam stood frozen, his carefully curated composure slipping away under the weight of her gaze. The guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, their curiosity turning into a palpable tension that hung heavy in the air. Sophia, who had been glowing with joy moments ago, now looked between Adam and Amale with growing confusion and fear. Adam, Sophia's voice trembled as she stepped closer to him. Who is this woman? He opened his mouth to speak, but found himself unable to form the words. How could he explain the depth of his connection to Amale, the woman who had seen every part of him before he became the man standing here today? How could he tell Sophia that Amale was the reason he'd had the courage to pursue his dreams, and the one he'd hurt the most in the process? Amale took a step closer, her voice steady but filled with emotion. I'm Amale, the woman who stood by Adam when no one else believed in him, the one he left without a word when he decided this, she gestured to the opulent surroundings, was more important than what we had. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Sophia's face paled. Adam's jaw tightened, his fists clenching at his sides. He had known this moment would haunt him one day, but he had never imagined it would come crashing into his life like this. This is a misunderstanding, Adam said finally, his voice low but strained. Amale, we... No, Adam. Amale cut him off, her voice rising. You don't get to rewrite what happened. You left me with nothing. No explanation, no closure. And now you expect me to stay silent while you marry someone else? Sophia turned to Adam, tears brimming in her eyes. Is this true? Did you leave her like that? Adam looked at her, guilt flashing across his face. Sophia, it's complicated. Amale and we were together a long time ago, but that part of my life is over. Amale's laugh was bitter. Over? Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night? You think you can just erase the past, Adam? Erase me? The crowd's murmurs grew louder, and Charles Hayes, Sophia's father, stepped forward, his face dark with anger. I think it's time you leave, he said to Amale, his tone cold and commanding. You've made your point. But Amale didn't move, her eyes locked onto Adam's, searching for even a flicker of the man she had once loved. Adam, if you truly believe I don't matter, say it. Look me in the eyes and tell me that none of it meant anything. The question hung in the air, and for a moment it seemed as though time itself had stopped. Adam's lips parted, but no words came. His silence was an answer in itself, and it hit Amale like a punch to the chest. Sophia turned away, tears streaming down her face. "Adam, I can't do this," she whispered. "Not like this." Amale took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she fought back tears. "I didn't come here to ruin your life, Adam. I came because I deserved to be heard, to remind you that what we had wasn't something you can just bury." Adam's shoulders sagged as the weight of her words sank in. The facade he had built around himself began to crack, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel the full force of his regrets. "Amale," he said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "I was wrong. I've been wrong for a long time." The crowd watched in stunned silence as Adam took a step toward Amale, his carefully constructed world crumbling at his feet. He had spent years convincing himself that leaving her was the right decision. But now, standing before her, he realized it had been the greatest mistake of his life. Adam stood frozen in front of Amale, the weight of the moment pressing on his chest like a vice. He glanced at Sophia, whose tear-filled eyes pleaded for answers he couldn't give. The once perfect wedding had descended into chaos, and all eyes were on him. "Say something, Adam." Sophia's voice cracked, desperation replacing the calm she had carried all day. "Who is she to you?" "She was my everything," Adam finally admitted, his voice barely audible but laced with truth. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap, silencing the murmurs of the crowd. Amale's breath caught, her heart skipping a beat. For years she had wondered if he ever thought about her, if their love had truly been as fleeting as it had seemed. But hearing those words now, in this moment, was both a balm and a wound. Sophia staggered back, her perfectly manicured hand clutching her chest. "You're everything?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "Then why am I standing here in this dress?" Adam turned to her, his face etched with guilt and regret. "Sophia, I thought I could move on. I thought I could build a life with you and leave the past behind. But seeing Amale again, I realize I've been lying to myself, to both of you." The crowd erupted into a cacophony of whispers and gasps. Guests shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to stay or leave. Charles Hayes, Sophia's father, stormed forward, his face red with fury. "This is an outrage," he bellowed. "You dare to humiliate my daughter like this? End this nonsense now, or you'll regret it, Khalil." Adam squared his shoulders, a quiet resolve settling over him. "I regret many things, Mr. Hayes, but lying to myself and hurting the people I care about will not be one of them anymore." Sophia's tears spilled freely as she turned to Amale, her voice trembling. "Is this what you wanted? To ruin my wedding? To humiliate me?" Amale shook her head, her own emotions threatening to overwhelm her. "No, Sophia. I didn't come here to hurt you. I came because I deserved the truth, and so did you." Sophia stared at her, the weight of the revelation sinking in. She glanced at Adam one last time before pulling the veil from her head. "I can't do this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I won't be second to anyone." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Adam standing alone at the altar. For a moment, silence fell over the gathering. Amale looked at Adam, the man she had loved and hated in equal measure. "So what now?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. Adam stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. Amale, I've made mistakes. Terrible ones. I left because I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought you deserved better than a man chasing a dream. And what about what I wanted? Amale countered, her voice rising. You decided for both of us, Adam. You took away my choice. I know, Adam admitted, his voice breaking, and I've regretted it every day since. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know that I never stopped loving you. Tears streamed down Amale's face as years of pain and longing collided with the raw vulnerability in Adam's words. For the first time in years, she saw the man she had fallen in love with, the man who had been lost to ambition and fear. The guests began to disperse, murmuring among themselves as the drama unfolded. Only a handful remained, watching from a distance as Adam and Amale stood face to face. I don't know if I can forgive you, Amale said finally, her voice trembling. But I can't deny that part of me still cares about you. Adam nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I'll do whatever it takes to prove that I'm not the same man who left you. Just don't walk away, Amale. Not again. The air between Amale and Adam was thick with emotion, a silent battle raging in their eyes. The once lively garden was now nearly deserted, the guests retreating to avoid witnessing the unraveling of a groom's world. Only a few close onlookers, including Sophia's father, Charles Hayes, lingered at the edges, their judgment palpable. I don't know if I can trust you again, Adam, Amale said, her voice breaking the silence. You didn't just leave me. You made me feel like I was nothing. Adam's shoulders sagged, the weight of her words cutting deeper than any reprimand he'd faced in his career. You were never nothing to me, he replied softly. I was a coward. I convinced myself that walking away was for the best because I thought I couldn't give you the life you deserved. Amale scoffed, crossing her arms. So you decided that for me? Without a conversation? Without even a goodbye? Adam looked down, shame coloring his features. I didn't know how to face you. I thought if I left quickly, it would hurt less. For who? Amale shot back. Because it certainly didn't hurt less for me. The tension was broken by the sound of footsteps. Sophia, still in her wedding dress, but with her veil gone and her makeup smeared from tears, approached cautiously. Her gaze flickered between Adam and Amale, her expression unreadable. You two clearly have unfinished business, she said, her voice surprisingly steady. And as much as it hurts, I don't think I'm meant to be part of this story. Adam's eyes widened in surprise. Sophia, She held up a hand, silencing him. Don't. I loved the idea of us, Adam, but it's clear your heart has always belonged somewhere else. Maybe I ignored the signs, because I wanted so badly to believe we were right for each other. Sophia turned to Amale, her expression softening. I don't know what you'll decide, but for what it's worth, I hope you find the answers you're looking for. With that, Sophia walked away, her head held high despite the pain etched into her face. The strength of her exit left an indelible mark on both Adam and Amale. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The echoes of Sophia's words lingered, forcing them to confront the raw reality of the situation. Amale, Adam began, stepping closer. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just need the chance to make things right. Amale shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. What if I can't trust you? What if you leave again the moment things get hard? Adam reached for her hands, his touch tentative but sincere. Then I'll spend every day proving to you that I won't. I've spent years chasing success, thinking it would fill the emptiness inside me. But it never did, because the one thing I truly needed was you. Amale's resolve faltered as she felt the sincerity in his words. Her heart battled between the pain of the past and the hope of what could be. The sound of Charles Hayes' voice shattered the moment. "Are you seriously entertaining this, Amale, after what he did?" Amale turned to him, her gaze steady. "This isn't your decision to make." Charles scoffed, his disdain clear. "You think a man like him can change? Don't be naive." Amale's voice sharpened. "I don't need your approval, Mr. Hayes, and I certainly don't need your judgment." Charles stormed off, leaving Amale and Adam alone once more. The tension lingered, but Amale felt a strange sense of clarity. "You have a lot to prove, Adam," she said, her voice softer now. "And I don't know if I'm ready to forgive you. But I think I'm ready to try." Adam's face lit up with hope, a rare vulnerability breaking through his usually composed demeanor. "That's all I ask." The golden hues of the setting sun bathed the Sterling estate in a warm glow as Amale and Adam stood together, their conversation lingering in the air like an unfinished symphony. The once bustling wedding venue was now eerily quiet, save for the faint rustle of leaves and the occasional clink of glasses being cleared by staff. The world seemed to shrink around them, leaving only the unresolved tension between two souls tethered by a complicated past. Amale shifted uneasily, her arms crossed defensively as she looked at Adam. "So, what now?" she asked, her voice cautious but steady. "Do you expect me to just fall back into your arms and pretend none of this ever happened?" Adam shook his head, his expression solemn. "No, I don't expect anything. I just want a chance to show you that I've changed, that I'm not the man who walked away from you." She studied him, searching for signs of sincerity. The Adam she remembered had been driven, ambitious, but also tender and full of dreams they had once shared. Now, standing before her, he seemed different. Older, perhaps wiser, but still carrying the weight of the choices he had made. Their conversation was interrupted by the soft approach of a familiar figure. Kendra, Amale's loyal friend, appeared at her side, her expression a mix of curiosity and protectiveness. She had been quietly watching from a distance, ready to intervene if necessary. "Amale," Kendra said gently, "are you sure about this, after everything he put you through?" Amale glanced at her friend, the question echoing the doubts she hadn't yet voiced aloud. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I think I need to find out." Kendra eyed Adam skeptically. "I hope you realize how lucky you are that she's even willing to talk to you." Adam nodded earnestly. "I do, and I won't take it for granted." With a reluctant nod, Kendra stepped back, giving them space but keeping a watchful eye. Amale turned her attention back to Adam, her heart a turbulent mix of hope and hesitation. "Let's say I believe you," Amale said cautiously. "Let's say I give you a chance. What does that even look like? How do I know you won't disappear again when things get hard?" Adam stepped closer, his voice low and filled with conviction. "You have my word, Amale. I'll prove to you that I'm here to stay. Whatever it takes, time, patience, anything, you'll have it. I just need you to let me in." Amale hesitated, her walls still firmly in place. But beneath her guarded exterior, a flicker of something new began to take hold, something that felt dangerously close to hope. The evening stretched on, the two of them lost in conversation. Adam shared stories of his life since they parted ways, moments of success that felt hollow without someone to share them with. Amale listened intently, occasionally offering glimpses into her own struggles and triumphs. They began to bridge the gap between them, brick by brick, as the vulnerability they once feared returned in small, cautious steps. But as the night wore on, Amale felt the weight of the day pressing down on her. "I need time, Adam," she said finally, her voice soft but firm. "This isn't something I can decide overnight." Adam nodded, his expression understanding. "Take all the time you need. I'll wait." As Amale prepared to leave, Adam reached out, gently brushing her hand. "Amale," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "Thank you for giving me even this chance." She met his gaze, her heart aching with the complexity of her feelings. "Don't thank me yet," she replied. "This isn't forgiveness. It's a beginning. Maybe." Adam smiled faintly, the smallest glimmer of hope lighting his eyes. "That's more than I deserve." Or the weeks that followed were marked by a cautious dance between Amale and Adam. True to his word, Adam made no attempts to rush her decision, respecting the boundaries she had set. They exchanged occasional texts and phone calls, each interaction peeling back another layer of their shared history. Slowly, the walls between them began to crumble, though the scars of the past lingered like faint shadows. Amale found herself torn. Her heart remembered the warmth and love they once shared, but her mind remained wary of reopening old wounds. She confided in Kendra often, seeking clarity amidst the whirlwind of emotions. "Do you think people can really change?" Amale asked one evening as they sipped coffee on her apartment balcony. Kendra leaned back, considering the question. "I think some people can, but it's not about what they say. It's about what they do. If Adam's serious, he'll prove it with actions, not just words." Amale nodded, her thoughts drifting to the quiet gestures Adam had already shown, checking in on her day, respecting her space, and sharing heartfelt apologies that felt genuine. It wasn't much, but it was a start. One crisp autumn morning, Amale received a message from Adam asking her to meet him at a park near the Sterling estate. Curiosity and nerves swirled within her as she made her way to the spot. When she arrived, she found Adam standing under a towering oak tree, its golden leaves cascading around him like a scene from a painting. "Thanks for coming," Adam said, his voice warm but tinged with nervousness. Amale crossed her arms, her expression guarded. "What's this about?" Adam gestured to a picnic blanket laid out nearby, complete with a basket of her favorite foods, something he had remembered from years ago. "I thought it might be nice to talk somewhere neutral." She raised an eyebrow but sat down, her curiosity getting the better of her. As they ate, Adam spoke candidly about his journey since their breakup, the lessons he had learned, the emptiness he felt despite his success, and the regret that had haunted him. "I used to think success would make me happy," Adam admitted, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "But it didn't. Every achievement felt hollow because I didn't have anyone to share it with. I didn't have you." Amale's heart softened at his vulnerability, but she remained cautious. "And what's different now, Adam? How do I know this isn't just another phase?" He turned to her, his eyes steady and earnest. "Because I've seen what life without you is like, and I don't want to go back to that. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn your trust again, no matter how long it takes." As the afternoon wore on, Amale felt her defenses slowly giving way. The sincerity in Adam's words and actions was undeniable. She could see the man she had once loved, but also someone who had grown. someone who was finally ready to meet her halfway. When the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the park in hues of orange and purple, Adam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook. "This is for you," he said, handing it to her. Amale opened it to find pages filled with handwritten letters, apologies, memories, and promises. Tears welled in her eyes as she flipped through the heartfelt messages, each one a testament to his dedication. "I've been writing these for years," Adam explained. "Whenever I thought of you, whenever I regretted leaving. I know they can't undo the past, but I hope they show you how much you've always meant to me." Amale closed the notebook, her emotions threatening to overwhelm her. She looked at Adam, the man who had caused her so much pain, but who now stood before her with open vulnerability. "I don't know where this will lead," she said finally, her voice trembling, "but I think I'm ready to find out." Adam's face lit up with a mix of relief and hope. "That's all I could ever ask for." As they walked away from the park together, the weight of the past began to lift. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in years, they were willing to take it, step by step, together. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments what you think and how it made you feel. Don't forget to rate this story out of 10. Your feedback helps us bring you even more inspiring tales of love and redemption. Subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with someone who believes in second chances. Together, let's spread hope and inspire the world.